This is Gadget Stop 321. In today's video, I'm going to take a look at the A5 Clairefontaine Twin Ring Multi-Section Graph Notebook. Now, the rings on this notebook they're just good rings. There's nothing exceptional about them. They're not flimsy or anything. They're just good solid rings. The cover, the front and back cover, is this glossy kind of heavy-duty cardstock material. This notebook is, there's the measurements, 17 by 22 centimeters. It's a little bit wider than other spiral A5 notebooks. I'll compare it to the black and red notebook that I just finished up. They're the same height, but you see that the Clairefontaine is wider because of the extra room that these tabs take up. I'll also compare it to Nemesign A5 notebook. It's a little bit taller and wider than the Nemesign. And I'm also going to compare it to a Moleskine. This is the Kahir little thin paper journal. It's quite a bit wider than a Moleskine and a little bit taller. So if you're thinking of putting this in some kind of notebook holder, take that into consideration. Check the measurements. Now, the paper is Clairefontaine's 90 gram per square meter. It has 4 colors that alternate through the 12 sections. There's blue, pink, green, and yellow. Each section has 5 sheets of paper, and since there are 12 sections, that's going to give you 60 sheets of paper, or counting the front and back, you'll have 120 pages that you can write on. Since this notebook has these tabs, there's so many different possible uses for it that I am going to use quite a variety of pens and pencils in my writing test. And this back section is yellow, and I apologize. It makes it look like my lighting is really yellow. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. I'm going to start out with fountain pens. Clairefontaine paper is famous for being fountain pen friendly. I'm going to start with a fine Pilot Custom 74. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more. Okay. And let's see, let me put that this is a fine nib. If you like smooth paper, you're going to like this. Next I have a medium Lamy CP1. Yeah, this is very pleasant to write on. Next is a Pilot Pereira with a 1.0 stub nib. Okay, let's see how these did. And no bleed through, and I'm not seeing any show through either. So for people that are familiar with Clairefontaine paper, that's not really a surprise. Okay, now these next 3 pens I'm borrowing from my daughter. This is a Uniball Signo, and in my last notebook video, the paper was not that great, and these bled through. Now I'm going to start with the red one. It was the least likely to bleed through. Very smooth though. Next was the blue. It tended to bleed through a little bit more than the red. And finally the black. On poor quality paper, it really tended to bleed through. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Now the black, I'm seeing a little bit of show through. Let me look at this. It is just on the verge of bleeding through. Let me zoom in. Okay, so yeah, you can see that black is just on the verge of bleeding through. Okay. Next, I've got some fine line pens and a couple Sharpies. This fine line pen is a 4A style mark. And this bled through on poor quality paper, even though it looks like, I think this pen is about to dry out. I'm going to go ahead and write with the red Sharpie. I'm thinking that's going to bleed through. That looks pretty. It feels like it's feathering. And I found my black Sharpie. Okay, so the Sharpies bled through. The little style mark pen did okay. Yeah, the style mark was up there. It did a little bit better than the Uniball Signo. Okay. Let's see what I want to try next. Next, I've got my favorite pens for non-fountain pen friendly paper that I can't use my fountain pens on. I like my Pilot G2s. They work on really crummy paper. I'm going to start with the 07. It's marked fine on packaging. Now, this paper is so smooth. You saw the little hard start there. I had to try twice. That's one thing about this smooth paper. And now this is the extra fine. Now, the extra fine is not as pleasant to write with. It doesn't feel that great on the paper. It feels like it's too smooth, like it's not wanting to grab the ink. After that initial hard start, the 07 was okay. All right. And let's see. I'm seeing a little show through. But it's probably just because, now I'm seeing a little more of the show through up here also. But I'm noticing it more the more I write on the paper. But no bleed through. This paper is fairly thin, so you can expect a little show through. And finally, I'm going to see what these can handle. I'm going to try just some regular Sharpies, a gold and a black one. So there's the gold. There's the black. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, as to be expected. Especially on the ends where you start and stop really bleeds through quite a bit. Okay. Now next, I've got a couple of my favorite pencils. Now this paper is so smooth, I don't know, I'm not very optimistic about how pleasant the pencils are going to be. Now, I will say this, smooth paper doesn't automatically mean it's not going to be good for pencils. You hear people a lot of times saying, oh, this paper has a lot of tooth, it'll be good for pencils. Well, not necessarily. I love using pencils on Rhodia, on my Rhodia ice pads. So we'll see how this does. I'm going to start with a 0.5 TWSBI Precision pencil. It feels good. I like it. Now this, the lead I have in here, I'm pretty sure is HB. So it's 0.5. I'll go ahead and put that this one's HB. It's the lead that came with the pencil. And I'm a big fan of this lead. It writes nice and dark and smooth. Okay. And another pencil I'm going to try here is, this one is a 0.7 Retro 51 Hexamatic. And it's got, it's a 0.7. It's got the sliding sleeve. And this one, I bought some 2B lead to go in it. It's the Einstein 0.7 2B. So we'll see what it looks like. Ooh, I really like it. That's very pleasant to write on. So I give this paper thumbs up for fountain pens, gel pens, and pencils. Very, very pleasant to write on with pencils, especially with the softer lead. Thumbs down on Sharpies and, you know, anything super wet writing. Well, I shouldn't say that because my fountain pens were wet writing. Anything, I guess, that uses, that has, instead of fountain pen ink, is water-based, and that tends to do okay. But things like your Sharpies are like an alcohol base, I believe. That, anything like that, a pen that would have a strong alcohol smell to it, those are going to be the pens that aren't going to work. Well, I really like this little notebook. This has so many applications. Since it has 12 sections, you could use it as some type of planner. You can use it in school, meeting notes. I originally had gotten it for meeting notes, but now I'm kind of thinking that, and I thought about using it as a gardening journal. But earlier today, I thought, I don't really have an inventory of all my pens and pencils and inks and paper. I might use this as a place to catalog all my stationery stuff. I can see that this would be a great ink journal if the paper were white, but you could still use it to catalog your different, really anything you want to, a way to organize it. But so a nice little notebook, a little on the expensive side, but Clairefontaine paper tends to be a little more expensive. It's made in France, so and it's good quality, so that's something you're going to have to pay for. This little notebook was $9.75, and that's with 60 sheets of paper. If you want more paper, you can get these in the larger, the full letter size, and those have almost twice as much paper as this. The full letter size notebooks have, I think it was 112 sheets of paper, but instead of 12 sections, it only has 4 sections, and those 4 sections are the 4 different colors. Well, I hope I was able to give you some good information here. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.